Hello everyone, welcome to Business Core Tutoring. I'm Devon Coombs, and today I'm going to go over some test preparation techniques. These are test techniques or preparation techniques that I use personally. There's a lot of traditional ways of learning and test preparation. This is my way. I think it works best. Just for some background on myself, I have straight A's in my accounting program over at CSUN, and I really think that this is the best way to approach test preparation. So let's get into it. There's this traditional model of studying, which I'm going to call the textbook approach, and I don't think this is that efficient, but let's go into it. So traditionally, you get a book, and you have a professor teaching you material. You're supposed to read the entire book. Then, while you're stumbling through the book or listening to your professor, you might say, hey, I don't get that, I don't understand that, and you have to dig deeper into it. And then you practice the material at the end of the book, or you get a quiz, and this is supposed to teach you what you didn't learn, and then you might go back and try to find your weaknesses again and keep on going or review your material. I think this is really inefficient because you're wasting a lot of time reviewing material that you might already know. And time is of the essence, especially in college. I have to say that there would be no way that I could have taken 22 units last semester if I used this approach. I did not use this approach last semester, and I got an A in 22 units, which is almost double a college load. So let's talk about the way I use. I think this is much quicker, much more efficient, and you're going to learn a lot better, and you're just going to be happier with this approach. So I would start, I'm just reversing the textbook approach that we talked about previously. Start by practicing the material. I want you to just look at as many multiple choice problems as you can, look at as many practice problems, do the problems in the back of the book first, then find what you don't understand and then review it. That way you're not reading the whole book, that way you're not wasting your time reviewing information that you already know, and you're just focusing on your weaknesses. This is great for test taking because you know exactly what you would mess up on in a test, and then you're practicing to fill up those logic holes and fix your flaws. I think this is a great way, and I think this is a great way to approach anything in life. Just find what you're not good at and then work at it until you're good at it. So let's go into detail. Practice the material. What do I mean by practice the material? This is what I want you to start with, but I just want you to find multiple practice problems. I think a great way of finding multiple practice problems is choosing a problem in your book or choosing an example problem that you might get in your test, or if you have an example test, and then just Googling it. And a lot of times you'll get similar problems on different websites or blogs, and you could just practice as many problems as you can, or take your practice exams, or take your tests, or take the questions in the back of the book and practice them. And once you practice them, you should be able to find problems that you struggle with, that you don't understand. So once you find those problems, you'll store those and write them away. But we'll stick on this. The multiple choice problems are great for practicing material. I especially like them because you only have one right answer generally. Sometimes there's multiple right answers, but if you only have one right answer, that means that there's three are wrong. And so if the three are wrong, try to understand why those three are wrong, because that's going to really help you comprehend the material when you're practicing. It's a lot of times I don't have to go back in a book for a problem I don't understand, because I'll just read why the questions are wrong, or I'll read the three answers that are wrong, and I'll be able to figure out, oh, that's why I thought it was like this. So I think multiple choice problems are great. Make sure you understand the reasoning behind the answer when you're practicing the material. A lot of times, especially if you have just one practice test, or if you're just using one book, you can get really stuck into memorizing the problems and then memorizing their answers, and then you're not learning anything. You have to understand the reasoning behind your answer. If you don't understand your reasoning, you're not learning anything. You can memorize answers, and you're not going to be learning anything at all, and you're going to mess up on your test. Figure out the logic behind it. Don't memorize. Do not guess either. Don't just guess your answers and be, oh, I got it right, and then move forward. You have to understand why you got an answer right. And that goes to the bottom line. Be honest with yourself. If you're practicing material and you're feeling a little slow, you're probably a little slow. Work harder at it. Practice it a few more times. When I took business calculus, I was not that good at first, and I remember going on trips and practicing 5 to 10 hours, studying over and over and over again until I could get derivatives down in a few seconds, and that's how you should do it, and that's what I do for accounting, and that's how you should do it. You got to get it down to speed and understanding, and be honest with yourself about how well you're doing and if you understand the material. So once you practice all the material, you should have a list of things that you are struggling with, concepts that you're struggling with, problems that you're struggling with. Write down these problems and then find examples of similar problems. And so just keep on working out and finding these problems, and there should be a common trend in these problems that you aren't understanding. Maybe you aren't understanding a basic principle of the subject, or maybe you're overthinking it, but you'll be able to figure it out once you have an assortment of problems. And then be diligent in searching for the holes in your logic. So once you find the assortment of problems that you aren't understanding with a related subject, then be diligent and say, why don't I understand this? Where is this misunderstanding coming from? Why can't I get it? And if you can figure out why you can't get it, then you're that close to understanding the material. As soon as you're on that brink of figuring out the one thing you're not getting, then you can focus and hone in and get better at it. So finding your weaknesses is extremely important. Just try to figure out where you need to fill in the gaps. If you don't understand addition, you can't do 1 + 1. And you could do a bunch of problems and then a bunch of calculus and be, I don't understand calculus. No, you don't understand what addition is. Go back to the basics, figure out where you need to fill in the gaps. I can't tell you how many times I tutor students, and they can understand complex concepts like exponentials and logarithms, but then they're just not dividing correctly, or they're not using the correct function for using addition, subtraction, multiplication. They're not doing it in the correct order. So try to figure out where you need to fill in the gaps of your logic. And then lastly, review your weaknesses. So once you have all your weaknesses down, I would use multiple mediums and multiple resources to make sure you understand your weaknesses. I do this all the time when I don't understand something. I just had this. I was studying a tax concept, 351 transfers for corporations, and I didn't get it, so I looked up a bunch of YouTube videos. That's why I make these. I think they're great resources. Looked up a bunch of YouTube videos. They helped a lot. I looked at my textbook. I looked at websites, government websites, professional websites, or just blogs. And if you really get stuck, just ask your professor or a professor in the field. So use as many mediums as you can and bring them your problems, and bring everything that you've done your research. You understand why you're not getting something, but you can't still figure it out. A professor is great for then saying, oh, this is what you're missing, and they'll fill in your logic hole. So there's so many mediums, and this is such a great way to approach it. In a multiple choice format, really try to understand why the wrong answers are wrong. So I'm eventually going to be studying for something called the CPA exam, the Certified Public Accounting exam. And this is a big way that they tell people to study. So many resources tell you to study is just to take multiple choice questions and figure out why the wrong answers are wrong. This way, you don't even have to go to professors. You don't have to go use any of these resources. But if you can understand why the wrong answers are wrong, you can generally figure out why the right answer is correct. Understanding the full flow of the problem will really help you out. And then just practice similar problems until you've mastered the material or weakened. So if I'm stuck on something, I won't just solve that problem because I'll probably memorize it if I solve it 4 or 5 times. So I'll find similar problems online. I'll make up problems that are similar. I'll have friends make up problems. I'll ask a professor, and eventually I'll master the material. And you can master it too. You just have to practice, and this way it's going to save you a lot of time of not practicing redundant material that you already understand. So let's just go over a quick review. I recommend the reverse textbook model. That means that you should first practice the material, then find your weakness, and then review your weaknesses. So always practice first. Always do the problems first so you don't waste your time studying material you already know. And then repeat this until all of your material is mastered. And remember that you can master the material, especially if you're studying a lot of material. This model will help you so much because you probably already know a good deal. So you don't need to waste your time reviewing stuff you already know. This is such a great model. I think it's really going to help you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Please subscribe to my channel, Business Core Tutoring. If you want more information like this, I'm willing to make videos for anyone regarding educational topics, accounting, business, business strategy, owning a small business, anything that you're interested in. I'll be happy to make it as long as it's within my knowledge set. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.